sitting here thinking about some things, and I figured, why not bring us something I have not done yet? You see, the day when I found out God was testing me, this was a long time now. It was a day when, when I was going to go to church. It was a Sunday. It was a very early one because when I leave home, I leave around 3:30 in the morning, and all I know is it wasn't raining yet, but it was late. Still, you know that early time. I remember getting everything I needed. Took a trip to the store, got me what I needed. And as I stood there waiting for the doors to open for the church, weirdest part about all this is that there was an elderly man that came out of nowhere. He was talking to me friendly, didn't know what to expect, but he had a blanket wrapped around him. And as he approached me, to come in my direction, this this vehicle approached our direction. Next thing I know, I see these two guys. One was a little older in his age, that is, but the other one was a little younger. So, next thing I know, these two were arguing with the one with the blanket. Apparently, the one with the blanket stole it from one of the other guys. But the weirdest part was all this happened near the church. And as I looked up in the sky, it began to rain and it was very stormy. Like lightning was flashing all over the place like crazy. One thing I know, a fight breaks out. The elderly one that came from the truck was fighting with the one with the blanket. Punches were thrown. One punch. Next thing I know, the one with the blanket came straight to me. And I looked at him. I wanted to say something, but I just didn't have it in me to say it because it wasn't my business. But I remember the guy with the blanket came next to me saying, "Help me." He touched my shoulder as I stared at him like this. Next thing I know, when he touched my shoulder, I saw myself basically looking straight back at the younger one. Cracked my neck, both sides, like if I was hypnotized, like something controlled me. And as I kind of looked straight down to the one younger guy near his vehicle, he showed an expression of fear in his eyes, like he was scared what he was looking at. After he gave me that look, and I looked dead on right at him, and the guy with the blanket was standing right behind me to protect it with me. He came out with a crowbar, the younger guy, to protect himself from the vehicle. I figured, you know what? I am not about to see blood spilt near this church. I will protect this church and make sure no one's blood is spilt. So I made sure of that. I told the guy that had the crowbar that was aiming it at me, I told him, "You don't put that away, I will get the police." And normally, me, I don't really care about calling the police when it comes to that situation. I just handle it myself. But I figured I have to, so this way, no fight happens. So after the guy ended up putting the crowbar away, next thing I know, both these guys that came out of the truck stood right next to me. And the other one with the blanket walked away into the rain, but he set the blanket right on my shoulders perfectly. But as I looked right straight to my left, I saw the guy with the blanket that he gave me basically walk down the rain, disappeared. And I'm right here thinking to myself, what just happened here? Took the blanket right off my shoulder, wrapped it around my hand, put it right in right my right arm, and I handed it over to the ones that was taken. So as these two guys, the younger and the old elderly one, they looked at me in my eyes, I hand them the blanket. And as the younger guy basically just looked at it, he took it, and they both disappeared into the night. So Lucifer is probably curious if I didn't recognize him that day. It was my first time finding out that God was testing me that whole day, because apparently the younger guy was Lucifer. The other guy that was basically elderly, that was with Lucifer, was somebody else that worked alongside with Lucifer. And the one with the blanket was actually God using an elderly man's body, which it made perfect sense because I asked God, that was you. God gave me pretty much a message that day. So I guess to clear something up here, Lucifer, the day when you confronted me with somebody else that day, and you mentioned about I look like the kind of person who would call the cops. Truth is, I don't believe in calling the cops. I prefer to handle it my own way. But the reason why I did what I did that day is because I wasn't gonna let you guys spill blood near that church ground. As long as I'm there, I'm letting that happen. But if you want to know if I recognize if it was you, of course, I know it was you. God was the reason why that I was able to be told it was actually you. Jesus Christ is the only one that told me it was actually you. Took me a while to figure that out, and I'm glad I did now. But I still remember it. That fear that you showed said a lot. So believe me, it still runs through my mind. That's all I can say.